Hey everybody, I'm Jesse, producer of the No Quitting the Home Team podcast. I wanted to give a quick disclaimer in that while we hope anyone who listens would gain wisdom and insight from Dave and Renee's conversations, this is still a podcast intended for married couples, and to that end there will occasionally be dialogue around sexual intimacy and other related topics. So, for those of you who may be single and particularly sensitive to this subject matter, or those who may be listening at home or in the car with their kids around, we wanted to give you a heads up in advance so that you might continue listening at your own discretion.
Dun, 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 dun. Hello, everyone. Welcome to No Quitting the Home Team, a podcast on marriage. I'm Renee.
I'm Dave.
And I'm Jesse.
And we are coming to you for our final episode of Season 1.
Which means there's going to be a Season 2.
Oh, we got renewed.
Yeah, we did. Woohoo!
Who
we got
made
a sponsor.
that decision? Yeah.
Hey, we've received so much great feedback from this, and we are excited to close Season 1, to kind of reflect on our previous season, but also kind of pull some ideas and come fresh with a whole new season next year. So would love to hear any feedback or any thoughts that you have about this show and topics perhaps you think we should hit on. But we've been really encouraged, so excited.
Yeah, we started out planning for 3 to 4 episodes, and it turned into 12. And we really would like to improve it and talk about things you guys want to hear. We're throwing around the idea of interacting with articles a bit more, popular culture perspective a little bit more. New segments.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
You didn't run that by your producer.
Yeah, we got some ideas.
We got some ideas.
But today on the show, we think it's only appropriate that we end this season
With the bang.
Literally.
Yes. Today, kids, we're talking about sex and the joy of sex, the role of sex in marriage. And I cannot wait to get into it with you guys, and can't wait for Renee and I to kind of break it down a little bit for us. So that's what's on the show today.
So stay tuned.
Yes. Before we get there, though, Renee, how are we doing?
My kids are on fall break. They extended our fall break, I think, more than regular DPS.
Mm-hmm.
I think the teachers were like, we've got to have a couple more days off. So during the pandemic, we really leaned into nurture, wouldn't you say, with the kids? Like,
yes.
Just feeling like we want to create when they're home. We want them to feel safe and to feel loved. And today, so Dave left early this morning. Becca crawled in bed with me. We rolled out of bed about 10:15. And when I left, all 3 boys were downstairs watching the Lord of the Rings marathon, the extended version.
I thought you were going to say Squid Game.
So it was an ultimate veg day. So it was really sweet to see them all down there chilling.
Liking each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
Much as 3 brothers can.
Yeah, exactly. I was
there are moments.
soaking in the 15 seconds that they weren't fighting.
Yeah.
But I think that was really sweet. I feel like we're planning a long weekend of just being together and relaxing and doing some fun staycation kind of things. So
yeah, we had planned perhaps to go out of town for a fall break, but instead we decided just to do like one fun thing every day.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Nice.
So I think I'm looking forward to just some downtime with you and the fam.
Oh, great. Jesse, how are you doing?
Yeah, we are doing well. To circle back to about a month ago, our fire pit is being delivered today. It's finally happening.
Just in
Oh my
time.
goodness. Yeah. So that's immediately going to take our number rating up about 1.5 points because there will be regular access to fire. Because in the 5 years we've owned our home, we've never had our fireplaces worked on, so they're very pretty and they're not functional at this moment. So
that's how ours were forever, and we just got gas. We just got gas, and it was a game changer.
Oh yeah. So my wife is thrilled right now as she awaits that thing being delivered. We've had a really good. It's been a couple of weeks since we've recorded. It's been a really good couple of weeks. 2 weeks ago was pretty much chock full of between fellowship group and having dinner with other couples and friends and catching up. I think we had 9 straight evenings of stuff.
Ugh.
Wow.
And so this week we've done almost nothing.
Oh,
we had
good.
fellowship group last night, and the rest of the time it's just been really, really low key, kind of recovering at home. So we're in a really good place right now.
That's good. I think at some point, Renee and I realized in order for us to flourish, it's critical we have bulk time together. Not just quality, but quantity time.
Yeah.
We just need, and kind of, so to be able to have just bulk time together is so critical. I just think that's so important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think I had a really good wife moment this week that I want to brag on myself.
Wow. Well,
Yeah, brag on
do.
yourself, and I will like it.
And referring back to, I think, our first podcast when we talked about how weird it is that I will use your toothbrush in the shower.
Oh yes.
So as it turns out, one of my kids does it to Dave as well.
yeah.
And Dave has,
Which I didn't know.
until recently, but
He took my toothbrush on a retreat.
and then subsequently you've reminded him over and over again, hey, Ian, don't use my toothbrush.
Oh,
but
you called him out.
Yes, I did.
We're dropping names.
but he just keeps doing it.
Right.
And I think you're probably as frustrated with him as you are with me
Definitely. With that, yeah.
with that issue. And so I was at, I don't know, somewhere running errands. And without even you telling me, I just picked him up a new toothbrush.
So
And I texted it to him.
he texts me the picture. I'm in the middle of a meeting, and I stop the meeting, and I say, my wife knows me.
You said, I feel
I feel
seen.
known. I feel seen. I feel
Yeah.
known. So well done, Renee.
Yeah. Thank you.
That was a good wife moment.
How do you think we are doing, honey?
I think we're good right now. Yeah, feeling definitely a lot of energy because of this weekend, because the boys are home, and we have some plans that we're anticipating. But I feel like we're also enjoying some benefit of last weekend as well, which we'll get into later in the show.
Gosh.
But I look forward, but I feel, right now I'm feeling great. I'm feeling great about us. So,
We have some contented marriages in the room.
We do. So, yeah, praise God. Cool.
All right. Let's switch gears to our second segment, which is the surprise question. And we're going to end this season 1 with me bringing the surprise question.
Let's hear it.
Okay. This may come across a little bit of gender stereotypes, and I don't want to do that. So I don't know if this question, but I don't know if this question is just for you, or if this applies more broadly to husbands. But I do feel like I've often referred to you as a puppy dog.
Okay.
In the sense that you really just need, you're simple and easy to live with. And there's just a few things, if you have them, you're fine. Like,
Yep.
actually,
Again, stay tuned.
actually fine. And I literally, I mean, in our family, I'm the cook. And I don't think it always has to be that the wife is the cook, but that's just how I enjoy it. I'm way better at it. That's just how our life functions. So, but if I feed you and I pet you.
Okay. Is there a question in here?
Is that because I feel like I'm so much more complicated? Like, is
the question, am I actually a puppy dog?
the question is, if you just have a few things, are you really just okay with just a few simple things? And do you think that a lot of men are like that? Whereas, because I feel like there's just a few things that if there's food and some good interactions, like that's all you need. Is that true? Is that? I feel that reality a lot. Like,
I think how you experience me is a combination of things. I think I do have a value of hopefully contentedness.
Right.
Where it as a value that doesn't take a ton for me to experience happiness or joy. And that's been fostered over years. Like that's, I think, part personality, but not totally just personality. I think some of that is just has been fostered over the years. So I remember in college hearing sermons and sort of getting a conviction that if you don't have a ton of preferences, you're easier to live with. And I got that in college. That's kind of been a value that's been kind of in me. And
this isn't a complaint.
Right.
It's a little baffling.
Yeah.
Because I think I'm a lot more complicated.
Right.
And I guess I wanted to hear, is that like, are you really happy as a clam if just a few things are present?
Well, I am. And so I that's where I do think that is true of me now. But it's not true because I'm a puppy dog, because I'm a simplistic in personality.
Right.
I think hopefully it's more true in that it's a reflection of like hyper prioritized sort of things in my life that are really important, and just not getting sidetracked. Or
would you add anything to that list of really like just the things you need present? I mean, I can't explain to you listeners the joy when I just cook dinner.
I know.
Like the joy, and we had this thing happen yesterday where I made the boys dinner, school lunches, and Will didn't need his, but I'd already made it, and so I sent it with Dave, and just the amount of joy that you, as you were texting me through the day, as you were eating the.
Well, and I made a request. I was like, can you also put in a little note?
Like I do with the boys.
Like you do with the boys.
So there was a sticky note involved.
And she did.
And I think that's when I started thinking about this question. It's like, it really isn't hard to make you happy.
Right.
And I guess is that real? Or are there other things that you would include?
Well, I think there are always other things that I would like to have. But part of the realness of it is the limited nature of what it takes to produce that sort of sensation or that experience of joy.
Would you characterize more men in that category, or would you say not necessarily?
Maybe as a gross generalization, yes. But I think when you press in, I think I wouldn't think that that's very just sort of a guy thing. It's probably much more oriented to personality, environment, family of origin stuff, that kind of creates the...
Do you wish I was more like that?
That's a second surprise question. I feel like suddenly things are.
That's a bear. We call that a bear trap, Dave.
Yeah, that's right. Don't.
You're gonna
move
start
forward.
to answer that, and you're gonna draw back a nub.
Okay, I'll just
Honey,
let
you're
that.
perfect the way you are. Yes.
I will say, I would say in differentiated seasons of contentment, that is a much more prevalent thing in my life than if I'm, entangled, or if I am not feeling, creative or professional, purpose, or whatever. Like, seasons where I don't feel quite right are going to be the seasons where I get more picky and more demanding and start looking for fulfillment in other things. And so, I think seasons where I am content and am finding satisfaction in an identity in Christ, and not in whatever my performance is or whatever other stuff can start to weigh me down. I think that is a much more common thread than where it's like, it doesn't really take much, because at the end of the day, I'm pretty healthy otherwise.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think that there's a mental, for me at least, there's a mental health curve with that.
Yeah. And even just hearing you talk about that, I do feel like, Renee, part of your experience of me would undoubtedly be different if I was in a different profession,
Right.
or wasn't sort of where I am with Fellowship Denver, and I have a pretty steady stream of good feedback kind of in my life that I don't want to just take for granted. I'm certain that sort of feeds into sort of what you experience as just kind of happy Dave, but I get a pretty consistent sort of stream of positive affirmations from people in the community, whatever. So I'm sure that's a part of the equation.
Okay. Again, I'm not complaining.
No,
You're
that's
a joy to live with. I just was wondering if there was layers to that I didn't know or understand.
Well, and there might be other layers that I don't know or understand.
But you've been like this for a long, long time.
Right.
Anything. Okay.
Oh, cool.
All right.
Fun question.
Now, I'm going to get into the meat of the podcast.
Everything is an innuendo today. Seriously, heed the disclaimer, listener. Send your kids away now.
As we now approach the climax of no quitting the home team.
Dave, what are we talking about today?
Well, we're going to talk about sex, and I see how sex is talked about in sort of Christian world, and there are kind of three main poles, three sort of extremes where sex kind of fits within people within the church.
Okay.
And
This
just
is,
wanna
as you've observed them.
as I've observed and experienced myself. One is don't talk about it.
Right.
So
I feel like that feels like an older generation, though.
Yeah,
Because I don't know many. Do you know people who are like that? Who are like,
I know couples who experientially don't talk about it.
Yeah, we know people who didn't, growing up in that kind of household where it's like, this is just not something we discuss.
Right.
Went from that up until the day they got married to then being married and suddenly finding themselves having to flip a switch from like, no, we don't talk about sex. Sex is bad, to like suddenly like, go do whatever you want. And it's like, it turns out there's a lot of work to be done to get to a point. Like, I mean, they were having like physically unable to engage at all because they were feeling shame. And it's
Yeah.
like,
Right.
well,
Yeah.
but you're
Right.
married.
Yeah.
So
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 yes,
it's like developmentally way behind.
Yep.
So don't talk about it. Don't think about it. Turn it off. Like way
Like a light
behind.
switch.
Yes. Do you want to sing a little bar of that?
Turn it off like a light switch. Do you know what that's from?
no. What is that from?
Book of Mormon.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So there's that extreme. The other sort of pull from that is we talk about it all the time. And in the church, we're not afraid to talk about it. In fact, I love my wife, and she's hot and
Yeah, kind of crass. Almost crass.
And it sort of models the hypersexualization that's sort of just present in culture, or at least things have shifted slightly in the past couple 3 years, I think, culturally, but still there. And within the church, they just kind of model that. So they're not only not afraid to talk about it, they talk about it a lot, and they talk about it in a almost upfront, almost rude kind of way, or could kind of come off
Crass,
as that.
yeah.
Sure.
So that's that. And then I think as a sort of reaction against that, people talk about sex in a very qualified, sort of almost like hushed, like, hey, I know this is going to be hard. We all have our own baggage, which of course that's true.
Right.
We all, like, this is a real sensitive topic for a lot of us. And so they end up talking about sex with a lot of hesitation, a lot of fear,
Heaviness.
a lot of heaviness.
Right.
And part of that is because there are prohibitions in Scripture.
Right.
Sex is powerful, and it is a part of our humanity, and we tend to really mess it up and experience it sideways, and all of that's true. I remember that kind of manifest. I gave a sermon on sex a few years ago, and I remember after the sermon feeling like, great, like, hey, I remember feeling like positive that this was going to be helpful for the church. And a member of our church came up to me afterwards. I remember her saying, hey, thanks for that message, but that was the most unsexy sermon on sex I've ever heard. Like, that was the most unsexy, she didn't say sermon, unsexy talk about sex ever. And kind of what she was sort of joking, but kind of not. She was like, isn't sex supposed to be fun? Like, isn't it, like, why am I feeling really heavy right now with this topic? And the more I reflect on it, I actually think that's sort of yet another ditch that church people can get sort of caught in discussing sex. That every time we talk about it, it's just so heavy.
Yeah.
And we all get background. We all get sort of the sinful expression of it and brokenness. We all get that.
Yeah.
And yet, in Scripture, more times than not, when it talks about sex, it's reflecting joy. It's reflecting happiness. It is just an expression of God's gift to us. And I don't know, within sort of our kind of corner of the church, if we really talk about it with the lightness and the joy that God intends for us to have with it. And so that's kind of what I want to talk about today, is
Sex is gift.
that sex is a gift. And in Proverbs 5, I'm going to read about it. The writer of Proverbs is talking about the joy of sex with his spouse. He's writing to his son, who's older and now is married. And it's like, hey, enjoy sexual union with your wife. But this is how he describes it. He says, let your fountain be blessed, and rejoice with the wife of your youth, a lovely deer, a graceful doe. Let her breast fill you at all times with delight. Be intoxicated always in her love. And the word that strikes me here is the word intoxication. Yeah. Intoxication here is referring to a kind of soothing, a comfort that takes the edge off of the normative pains of doing life. And so part of really the vision of sex in Proverbs is that sex is a gift that God gives us to help soothe and comfort us in the midst of all of the crap we have to deal with in a broken world.
Yeah.
And so enjoy it, be intoxicated by it. And I don't really know if we quite have embraced that as a category of sex because of all the, because of lots of reasons. But I wanted us to talk about it on this show and just hold that up, that sex is a gift and it soothes, it comforts, and it doesn't solve every problem. It won't solve all of your issues in your marriage. But I will say that it is disproportionately influential, that couples who maybe suck at finances and are no good at communication, if they somehow sort of carve out a way for them to have a fruitful sex lives, that tends to be a little bit more influential than them sort of working out, a budget together. I'm not, it's great to work out on a budget, but if you have a choice, let him hear.
I guess it,
with ears, let him hear.
it begs the question of how do you, if sex hasn't been fun and joyful, and how do you pivot?
Okay. So a couple of things. And of course, everyone has their own sort of, this isn't with the details of one's sex life, a sermon or a podcast or even one particular book shouldn't be taken hook, line, and sinker. Everyone
as a
has
template or something.
Yeah. But so broad strokes here. There's a misnomer that sex is the fruit of intimacy. Mm-hmm. That's not the case. Mm-hmm. Sex fosters intimacy.
Yeah.
So we have a overly romanticized and sort of vision of spontaneity where sex is like the end game.
If everything kind of goes right.
If you play your cards right, then you might get lucky.
Right.
And you might actually have sex, And that's the fruit of doing everything right.
Yeah.
That is certainly not the picture we get in Scripture. And it doesn't actually work very well.
Right.
Rather, my encouragement to the people at home is that sex is actually to be engaged to help foster wider intimacy in your relationship together. So it's not so, and this is important because a lot of people think that sex is on or off the table based on your performance that day. Mm-hmm. Based on, did I do everything right? Did I play all my cards right? Mm-hmm. And if I did, then finally, we get to have sex.
Give the example we talked about.
Okay, so
go for it.
So
retold
on Friday,
with permission.
we told the people about
Friday.
TGI Friday.
I think people.
Friday fun day.
Yeah. So, but last week was actually kind of a tough week for us.
Yeah, Dave was gone all week.
I was gone,
and we didn't talk when you were gone, which is unusual. You just with the schedule.
I was at a conference Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. At that conference from 7 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. My schedule was just packed out.
And then a 2-hour time difference.
2-hour time difference, and you're busy with the boys. Mm-hmm. And so we mentioned earlier that you and I actually do better with bulk time.
Yeah.
So we had not only did we not have bulk time, we had no time together. So I get back in late on Wednesday night. Thursday, work all day.
Yeah.
And so we had a very like functional relationship, like role oriented, just you did your stuff, I did my stuff, but no real feelings of intimacy. So, and then next day is Friday. So it's Friday morning, get the kids to school. And honestly, in my mind, I'm thinking, is this going to, like, this is our tradition.
Tradition. I don't know if I would call it a tradition.
But
Don't let the door hit your butts, kids.
I am kind of thinking, like, is this, I haven't that week done the work to foster intimacy.
Yeah,
to where this is easy.
We weren't connected like we usually are.
Emotionally, we weren't connected.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I'm kind of preparing, like, okay, this probably isn't going to happen. So it's like 9 a.m. and then we weren't even talking that, like, it wasn't free flowing conversation.
No,
that
it was a
morning.
little strained.
Yeah. And then I remember we were in bed, but not close. And then you looked at me, and tell the people what you said to me.
Tell them what I said.
You looked at me, you were like, hey, buddy, we're either going to do this or we're going to move on. And
You get those pants off or what? Come on.
and when the very fact that you had any, like, emotional capacity to be game. So when you said, are you going to do this or what? To me, that's like the most romantic thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, let's game on. But I know that was a decision you had to make.
Yeah.
That wasn't the fruit of intimacy.
Right.
But it was sort of a movement towards, I want to experience intimacy with you.
Yep. And it really did affect. You even mentioned earlier today that we're still sort of, because it affected. Saturday.
Hello.
It just sort of set a trajectory of being connected.
Yeah, it did.
Instead of waiting.
The Sooners beat the Longhorns.
Yeah,
and then-
in dramatic fashion.
Yeah.
But it fostered the disciplined decision.
Yeah.
To say, hey, we're going to say yes to sex,
Yeah.
even though we're not necessarily feeling it. It was amazing, by the way.
Stop.
and even though we weren't feeling it,
Yeah.
it changed the trajectory of our entire weekend.
Yeah.
And I feel the momentum of that right now.
Yeah.
On Thursday. And it's fostered closeness for us. And that's what I feel like what we get in Scripture, sort of a theology from below in Proverbs, that sex is God's gift to us to help us, give us comfort and joy and pleasure in the midst of a broken world.
Yeah.
And in broken relationships and broken life. Like, it's God's gift to us within marriage.
I think a few years ago we sort of, I don't know when it switched, but I do think we started embracing more of the gift, joy, fun, and not taking it so seriously. I think we probably were in that third category.
We're totally in that third category. Before.
Going in and just all the warnings around it and what it can lead to, and but I think, even just other Fridays when it's so abrupt, right? Like, we get up early, we get the kids to school, it's like bright outside, and it's like it's such an abrupt kind of, and so we laugh.
It's not ideal.
No, it's
environment.
No, right. There's no candles, so we laugh a lot, and I think that wasn't always. And there are times like I'm like, just give me, like, I've got to just switch. Hang on, I've got to just give me a second. I just rode my bike to school to drop the boys off and made lunches, but I do think there's a more of a playfulness, and nobody's feelings get hurt as much. Like, and you're like, I know, or I think that was a switch for us.
Definitely. Well, it just took a lot of the anxiety away from the experience.
Right.
It took the performative aspect away.
Yeah.
And then we can just be present with each other, which is the whole point of intimacy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Naked and unashamed, that we can be fully present with each other and enjoy each other. And the point, though, is that often we get stuck in cycles where and in patterns where sex is the reward for doing everything right.
Right.
And when in fact sex is the thing that God's given us to put us in the trajectory of having that intimacy that we want. And there's all kinds of sort of research where sex sort of emotionally is a bonding thing. So a lot of times couples are like, we don't feel bonded, we don't feel intimate. So it makes the possibility or the desire to want to have sex really, sex is off the table. And it's like, whoa. Having sex, actually, that activity, what God's given us, is the thing God gives us that actually helps to create that bond. It helps to create the two become one. Like that is the bonding activity, action that God gives us to create that kind of intimacy that we want.
Yeah. What other things because I think that's a super helpful recommendation. Could you think of anything else that would be helpful to help couples kind of transition to that and away from some of these other patterns or ditches?
Yeah. Well, I hate to just kind of always talk about the importance of scheduling.
Yeah.
But I do feel like I don't know how else to encourage couples in it other than you should schedule it in a way that creates expectation. Like we're going to go here sort of if I'm emotionally feeling it or not. And
I think some people probably get that.
It alleviates,
if they have a date night or something.
Yes.
Like there's an expectation at the end of a date night or an expectation, even if it's not one certain day a week or whatever. There are events that cause expectation.
Yes. Wait, are you saying that the events? So
right, but it's sort of scheduled.
Yes.
It's understood that would happen, even if it's not on Fridays.
Right.
But it's like, hey, we're gonna have date night, and this is what date night means.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of scheduled too.
Totally. And I would begin to build it in the rhythm, but I think the big aha is that mindset shift that sex fosters intimacy. It's not the fruit of intimacy.
Yeah. And it's a gift that should be enjoyed.
Yeah.
Like you used when we were talking about what to talk about in this episode, you use the example. So our kids are out of school for a week. And so last night we were all like, we're on fall break. And we ended up watching 2 Marvel movies.
Venom. So good.
Yeah. Do you like Venom? Loaded question?
I'm ambivalent.
Okay. Anyway, I watched it, and I generally don't love the Marvel movies, and I thought it was good. But I was like, we have some special occasion bottles of wine in our kitchen that people have given us, or we purchased in Napa or whatever, and we were down there and having a good time, and I was like, hey, let's open one of those bottles. And Dave likened it to that. Like it doesn't really give us any, we just enjoyed it. And he decanted it and, it was like, we just enjoyed it. It was just as a gift. It was given to us.
Yeah.
And
it took the edge off. And it was such a lovely bottle. And that's precisely how Proverbs describes the fruit of sexual intimacy, be intoxicated with her love. And not that we got drunk last night, but there is sort of a similarity there in terms of what it did to our relationship last night, having that bottle of wine.
It was an enjoyment. It was a savoring.
Yes.
And being in the moment.
Yes.
Well, and we've joked about this, like I say joke, like air quotes, joked about this, but like, especially if you're a parent with young kids and like stuff is chaos and maybe you can't find a babysitter and you just put sometimes the best date night you can have is go grab a bottle or 2 of wine and lock yourselves in your room and like just make a date night out of what you got. And and so
Yep. It gets harder when your kids get older.
I know. It's already gotten more difficult and our kid's only 6.
Yep.
So
No, I think that's good. I think that's great.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to?
With that, well, I have one other sort of encouragement to the people. But I'm going to wait until our final recommendation.
All right. Sounds good. All right, let's move on to the next section. What's weird about us? Jess, do you want to do what's weird about you?
No.
Okay. I like this one's fun.
So there's a distinct difference between, and we're probably on both ends, both extreme ends in this issue. There's a distinct difference.
I know people who are more extreme than me.
Do you?
On my
end?
No. But on my but okay, tell the people what you're talking.
We're talking about loading the dishwasher. Loading the dishwasher. So I cannot even like if Dave. So every night after dinner, we all clean the kitchen, our whole family.
Whole family. No one's allowed to leave the kitchen until the kitchen's
Until
clean.
everything's done. Yeah.
Totally.
So, and I'm always the one
habit.
washing and putting things in the dishwasher. For
Yeah,
this
you're
reason.
like the
That's my
linchpin
station.
of the kitchen cleanup sort of crew.
Right. But if something happens where I have to run into swimming and Dave has to put the dishes in the dishwasher, I can't even look at it. Like it
has to be running, like
No.
shut and running, and I have never seen what happened inside. Like I have to be completely ignorant, or if it's not running, I will open it up and I will completely
Rearrange it?
repack it. Absolutely.
You really? Okay.
Oh, I'm neurotic with this.
Jesse, you don't even understand what
I might, Renee.
you know
I
because
might.
there are
It's a compulsion.
I can't even begin to tell you the level of disarray of where things are.
I just don't
I cannot even begin to tell you.
I don't
Feeling attacked.
understand either of you on this. It is a dishwasher.
We're talking about like plates on the top shelf. Like that level.
What are we doing?
I know.
What
I
are
know.
we doing?
Okay.
I know.
So Renee, I don't even know when you load the dishwasher.
Okay, I rinse things.
I know. Yes.
I rinse things.
And it's so clean when it goes into the dishwasher. I can't tell afterwards if it's been run or not.
In contrast, sometimes there'll be a whole hamburger.
Oh, that's an exaggeration.
The filter that spits stuff out of the dishwasher.
It can't handle a whole
only
T-bone
handle so
steak.
much.
It can't handle
Okay.
It can't handle bones.
So, but it's called a dishwasher. It does the washing for you. You can sort of rinse stuff off, but you don't have to like clean it. And I
think it's a lot of it comes down to efficiency, because I would venture to say, and you think I'm exaggerating with this too, but I can get 3 times more in the dishwasher than you can. And those finished pods are so expensive.
okay, that I get.
So-
When you mentioned that earlier, I'm like, okay,
I mean, it's like
guilty as charged.
$15.99. We have to. The brand we bought only requires this specific brand of dishwashing detergent that's ridiculously expensive. So, and if you have to run it 3 times instead of 1 time, you're using 3 pods, and you're
Right.
also using energy and water.
And I don't pack it efficiently either. So
Right. So I think some of it is an efficiency, but part of it is there are like preset compartments in the dishwasher.
I don't
for
like
certain,
those kinds of rules. I don't like a dishwasher telling me how to. I'll put the dishes where I want to put the dishes.
I don't like.
Just because
I
you
don't
have
like there
little
being lanes on the highway. I
because
don't
you have little
I don't like safety and
prongs.
precaution.
Just because you have little prongs coming up, that
You
shouldn't
go
dictate
prongs
to me.
up on forks?
No, I'm just
Jesse,
saying.
I was
every-
like, you madman. Love being
the
stabbed in the hand when I gotta
violation
unload.
of just all of the norms of the packing the dishwasher is just, it really is, it's remarkable.
Dave, would you say that when done in a thoughtful, healthy way, that rules exist and boundaries exist to help a person flourish?
It depends. There's a letter and there's the spirit of the law.
Yeah, and
So
I think you
I'm with
violate
this-
both.
No, I go with the spirit. Dishwashers are meant to wash the dishes. I'm all for it. That's the spirit.
So
To
what's your
make life easier?
What's
for
your
me.
apologetic for putting things just like not where they're designed to go in the process?
Well,
Like instead of
it's they're designed to go where I want them to go in the dishwasher.
No,
honey.
no.
That's
Bad
the
answer.
design.
This
That's
is
a bad
weird.
answer.
This is so weird
That's a
about
bad
you.
answer.
Well, it's meant to serve me, right? And my,
I think it's
and
meant
my
to- I
how it
think
is, it's meant to serve. The machine is meant to serve me. I don't want to be shaped by the expectations of the machine.
All right. So I feel like we're ganging up on Dave. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna play devil's advocate here.
Okay.
Renee, have you ever looked at how much water it takes to run a dishwasher, how many gallons it takes, versus how much water you use
Rinsing.
while you are rinsing and scrubbing to preload?
Yeah.
Because I can.
Yeah, no, I think
it's
it is.
probably 3 to 4
No, it
times
is.
the amount.
And I think there's a Cascade commercial now.
Yeah, there is.
That has a lot of sexual innuendo in it.
What?
Have you seen this commercial?
No.
It's like couples saying, "We do it every night."
Oh, right.
and it's talking about running the dishwasher.
Yes.
And it has like an old couple, but they give that ratio, and it is.
Yeah.
And the fact that we do both, like I rinse it and then run the dishwasher,
Yeah.
is probably, I'm probably being wasteful.
It has helped me be less crazy with because Dave is 100% right in that if you were to look at the dishwasher like before I run it, you might not be able to tell
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
if that was a clean or a dirty
Right.
load.
But there's nothing worse than sometimes you have loaded it and the food's even after running it and then you have to run it again.
No, then, and it's really caked on then because it's gone through the drying cycle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
I get it.
especially
I
if you
can't-
heat dry.
yeah.
If you heat dry, that just glues.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
so
I
the,
get it.
on- yeah.
so
I
the
get it.
time to have to run it again, it really just throws a wrench in the whole efficiency process.
Yeah. So, to me, the takeaway is that I just never do the dishes.
I mean,
That's functionally what we have.
listen, where we've kind of landed in our house is like, unless something goes really sideways, Shell does laundry, I do dishes. She has a whole and it's the same thing. If my wife sees me putting clothes in the washing machine, she's like, did you spray and wash these things? Did you like pre-treat this? Blah, blah. I was like, no, I put it in the washing machine because that's what we do.
push start.
And we wash everything on cold, so it doesn't matter. I don't have to worry about things shrinking or colors bleeding. I'm just put it on cold and it's great. And she looks at me as if I've like committed some horrific crime.
You monster.
Yeah, like I'm a monster for that. And so she, where we've landed in our house is unless we are scrambling or some sort of emergency is happening, I handle the kitchen, she handles the laundry.
Good.
So, are you willing to admit that you're the weird one in this proclivity, or am I weird?
No.
Where does the weirdness lie?
I don't know how weird that. I feel like a lot of couples experience something like this. So I don't know how weird it is.
That's what feels weirder to me is I feel like this is a very common dynamic. Like, how come two people who don't have horrific dishwashing habits, how do those people not end up together?
Totally.
How is it always like one person who's like dishwasher slob and then another
Yes,
one is
totally.
like, what do you mean you put a small plate on the top rack? Don't you
Totally.
know the top rack is blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Well, and what's ironic about this is I'm not the rule follower in most things.
Right.
You are,
Right.
right? So, like,
This is Dave's one little piece of
This is it.
rebellion
Let
just
me-
like chucking.
This is my one outlet to do life how I want to do it. Just let me throw in the dishes and push.
don't hand me your reality. I want to create my own reality.
That's right.
What a strange, specific rebellion. I love it.
All right.
I love
Good.
it.
Good stuff. All right, let's do our last section today. I'm going to let you finish.
Yeah.
Hey now.
I'm going to make a book recommendation that has absolutely nothing to do with relationships. I just want to recommend this book because he's my favorite author. And I've been waiting 10 years for him to come out with a new book, and he did. And I just want all you guys to read it with me and then email me how much you love it, to bask in his literary brilliance. So everybody needs to read The Lincoln Highway by Amor Towles. And then text me or email me how much you love it. We ordered it yesterday, and I'm so excited.
Yeah,
So
it's coming in tomorrow.
yeah. So read with me.
All right, great. And then my recommendation isn't a book. It's just a word of advice.
Woo. Brace yourselves, people.
Yeah. For the male listeners out there, guys, just go her way.
Mm-hmm.
This was advice. It was
Go
actually
her way. Just go her way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just think about her needs. Go her way.
From the very beginning of every. That's the starting point.
Just go her. Just go her way.
Mm-hmm.
And then things tend to go better after that. This was, yeah, you were gonna say, Renee.
Well, this was a chapter, and we couldn't even remember the book that we read.
It just had this really stark blue cover. We called it the Blue Book forever. I have forgotten the name.
Yeah, we
of the
couldn't. We
book.
were trying to remember, but we read it prior to getting married, and there was one chapter that it was the premise basically was like anytime you have sex, just the starting point is start with making sure that she's happy,
Yeah,
and then the rest generally goes okay.
yeah.
And so that sort of has been our. Are we getting way?
No, this
No,
is
you're fine.
That's always been our starting point for forever.
yeah.
And it just seems like, and I'm surprised at how many people don't have that category, that don't even have that as a, like, I can't imagine enjoying it as much if that wasn't our default.
regular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was, I'm grateful that we got that advice really early on, and that sort of just set the blueprint for married sex.
Yeah. So, go her way, guys. That's the word of advice. And with that, we're going to put a wrap on season 1. Thanks for listening. Thanks for joining us in this podcast. Can't wait to see you guys for season 2.
And we truly hope and pray that this has been edifying and helpful in big and small ways, and that you feel just a little bit more encouraged that marriage is worth it and worth working on. And yeah, hang in there.
Put the arm to you.